Hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art and surprise! Scrap It's Monday. Let's create. I hope you saw yesterday that I had posted that I wouldn't be doing a layout on Sunday night as usual because I was away. I was visiting my mom and dad um, and my best friend came for a visit and all sorts of fun things. And so we weren't on scrapbooking. And so I said, I'll do my best to come on Monday when we're home and we can do some scrapping then. Now I'm just trying to get myself in the center. My camera's a little wonky up there, but I think we can see most of the mat down here. And so we are going to be working with some ephemera today. And the reason I wanted to do that is quite often we purchase ephemera, and yes, Stampin' Up! Sells ephemera and different things you can mix and match to put onto things, but where did ephemera come from? Ephemera is the stuff that while you were traveling, you would pick up along your journey. So, train tickets, airplane tickets, tickets to events, maps of places that you had been, brochures and literature that you would pick up. And that is where ephemera came from. So people would save those little snippets and scrappy bits from their travels, or snippets and letters and things that people drew and sent to them, and pieces of fabric and pieces of lace and all those wonderful things, and they would incorporate them into their memory keeping and their scrapbooking. And so sometimes I think we forget that we don't have to buy ephemera. It's the stuff that comes our way as we travel through life. And so we're going to be using some ephemera today. Hey, Mom, nice to see you're watching. And I see Heather is here too. Good evening. And if you're joining me live, just say hello so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay and leave some comments. And I would love to hear from you. So think about as you go through life, what are some ephemera that just comes your way, that just shows up? And put it in the comments. Different kinds of ephemera that you have gathered in your life and could use on a scrapbook. So first off, we're going to start with a blank piece of white cardstock for our base, but we don't want to leave it blank. And so we're going to add a little bit of color onto this, doing some splattering. So I'm just going to put down my mat here so that I can protect my work surface a little bit. And, because splattering gets just a little messy by times. And I'm sure the new speaker that my husband bought me that's sitting right here will get some splatter on it. But that's okay. It lives in the craft room. And in the craft room, things get a little messy sometimes. All right, so for my splattering today, because they match with the things that I'm doing, I'm going to be using some Granny Apple Green and some Blueberry Bushel. And for my splattering, I'm going to use a water painter, a water brush, so it's got some water in the chamber here. And I'm also going to be using a stamp block as my non-porous surface to put my ink on. I could also use my mat here, technically. But if I move my paper around too much, I don't want it getting all over my mat. So let's start with the Granny Apple Green. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little ink spot. I don't have the full-size version. I'm just going to go ahead and put some of that Granny Apple Green right onto my stamp block. And then I'm going to take my water painter. I'm going to give it a little squeeze. There's a little spot here that says push. Give it a little squeeze. That helps the water come down. And then we can make just a little puddle of some lovely Granny Apple Green inky goodness. And then we're going to do some splattering. And all you're going to do, you can even take another water painter and just tap, 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 tap. and add some splatter. So we're going to add some up there. We're going to add some down here. And if you are wearing clothes, you know that you don't want splatter on, then this is the time to wear an apron, because it's just going to happen. You're going to get something on your clothes. And so we're going to kind of go all the way down this side and splatter on. Now, if you want some really big blobs, you can even just take the water brush and just make some blobs. So if your splatter is coming out too small for your liking, you can add some bigger blobs on there. Whatever your pleasure. And then to clean off your water brush, it's as simple as taking a cloth or a piece of tissue, and you're just going to squeeze to make more water come down, and then you're just going to rub until no more ink is showing up. And then you'll know that your water painter is clean. There we go. I got a lot of ink on it this time. There we go. Okay, no more green is coming out. We can also use the same tissue or cloth to wipe off our stamp block. That's the great thing about a non-porous surface. Then we're going to come in with the blueberry bushel. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to add some ink, and I'm just kind of using the corner of my ink pad to add some ink to my block. Close that up. And then same process. I don't want to stick it in any wet stuff. Give it a little squeeze. Get some water on there. The more water you add, the lighter the color will be. The less water you add, the more vibrant the color will be, and or more concentrated. And then we do the same process. We're just going to tap, tap, tap. Splatter, splatter. Add some splatter on here. We're going to go in the same places we splattered before. Go down the right side. Like so. Again, if we want to add some bigger drops, we can just come in with the brush and paint some bigger drops. Nobody needs to know you didn't do it by splattering, that you did while painting. It's all good. And then we'll clean up this one. A little squeeze, a little rub. And I didn't have to put as much ink on my block as I did, but you kind of get used to that over time, how much you think you're going to need for the amount of splattering. If you're doing lots of splattering, you need more ink. Less splattering, less ink. We just keep going till we lose the color. And I'm squeezing on that spot that says push, and it's letting water run down, and then it's all clean. We can wipe. Clean off our block. It's a great thing about water-based inks. Clean with water. There we go. So that is our water spritzer. So have you thought about places you might gather up ephemera as you go through your travels or through your day-to-day life? Places that you would find things that could be ephemera or just naturally get ephemera. If you do, put them in the comments. One thing I can say, children's school programs and things, I save those. Those are ephemera. You go your kid goes to the dentist and they get a sticker and they put it on their shirt for a while, but then it falls off before you put it in the wash. That can be ephemera. All sorts of things can be ephemera. You go to the theater, save your ticket, that's ephemera. And you can incorporate it in your scrapbooking. Now, some people worry about the fact that it might not be acid-free and lignin-free and all that stuff. You can always put it inside of a plastic envelope or that kind of thing if you're very concerned, or just have it separated from where your photos are. Totally works. All right, so for our layout today, I'm going to be scrapping some photos from a recent retreat at my mom's house in Campbellford. And so there were 6 of us who were traveling in 2 different cars, and we managed to meet up and we did a little bit of sightseeing along the way. So this is at the en route along the highway. Got a picture of myself with the moose wearing a plaid vest, and that's very cute. And then we stopped at the Ranny Gorge Suspension Bridge, just on the outskirts of Campbellford. So we took these couple pictures. There's everybody going across the bridge. You can just barely see myself in the selfie. And this was in front of the sign for the bridge. Then we went farther into town and we stopped at the Giant Toonie, because if you don't know, Campbellford, Ontario is the home of the Toonie. So there is a giant Toonie in the park. And so we all got our pictures there, and you can see the Trent River Canal going through town there behind me. And so I got all these photos, and I was inspired by a layout. Michelle says, nice pictures. Let me see. There's Michelle right there. And so we had a lot of fun. And we even did a little bit more than that, but those are the pictures that I chose for this layout. And so I want to mount them on some white cardstock, and hopefully my splattering, it looks pretty dry. And so I've got 2 different lengths of cardstock. These are about 2 by 3 inch photos that I've got here. And I'm just going to kind of arrange them here on these strips of white cardstock. Let me see. And I'm going to try and put them in some kind of order. So this was at the en route, and then this was at the bridge sign, and then going across the suspension bridge, and then the Toonie and the canal. So that's the kind of order. So I've left just a little bit of the white cardstock showing all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and attach my photos to those cardstock strips. It kind of gives it the appearance of like a photo booth. Film strip thing happening here, and I kind of like that look when you've got a grouping of photos. One way to get a lot of photos on a page and still have room for ephemera and decorative things is to make your photos a little bit smaller than maybe you normally would. So if you're somebody who would normally do 4x6s and 4x4s or 5x7s, sometimes it's fun to try a layout that's a little bit different, using a little bit different size of photo. And especially if your photos are not that clear, you don't want to enlarge a photo that doesn't turn out very well. But shrinking a photo that might be a little bit less clear doesn't make the resolution any worse. It might even make it a little bit better. Now these photos turned out pretty good, but I'm just saying. All right, so I put the top and bottom on this one, and then I'm going to go for the center, and that helps me keep my spacing so that I don't have to work as hard at trying to figure out the exact center. And I'm kind of evenly spacing them from side to side. And there we go. So that's my strip with 3. And then we can go ahead and add the 2. Like so. I'm going to do all the adhesive all at once here. There we go. Take our backing off. This always takes a minute. Deborah's recognizing these photos. Yes, Deborah's in these photos too. This was the June retreat this year. And it was a lot of fun. There's Deborah right there. Enjoying a moment in the bright sun. It was a very warm day. And so there we go. We've got a couple strips of photos going on. And then we want to add in some pattern paper, some DSP. And I have been loving the Full of Life DSP. It's lovely and wonderful and colorful and lots of interesting patterns. And so I have picked some very monochromatic patterns from the Full of Life collection. Now it's a 6x6 DSP collection. So you don't get as large of pieces, but you can piece them together if you need to. And I chose these two pieces of DSP because in almost every photo there's a lot of greenery. So I thought greens would go nice. This one doesn't. It's an inside photo. It's the odd man out. We'll just have to accept that. So I'm going to put this strip in behind this photo, and I think it looks nice like that. So we're just kind of stick it on there like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive. We're going to kind of, I know this is a little out of character, we're going to kind of start layering from the front instead of the back, because otherwise I may not get things spaced out exactly how I normally would. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going to add that on there like that. And then I wanted to bring in a bit of a contrast color. So I looked at my photos and I noticed that there were some contrasting colors besides the green. There's blue, but blue is not really a contrast to green because it's too close. So something else that's a contrast in here is we have some red, and we have some red here as well. And so I wanted to bring in some red, just plain cardstock, because with the photos and having so many people in the photos, and with the DSP having patterns and, you know, things happening on there, sometimes you need something that's just solid to get the impact that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down to this piece of real red cardstock. Now I have cut these strips to 2.5 inches. So these are 2.5 by 6 inches. This one is 2.5 by 8 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and attach those together like that. Up in the air, willy-nilly. I know, this is a little bit different for me, but we're going to go with it. And then I want to attach this pattern paper. And so I'm going to put some adhesive here on the back of my photo strip. Does anybody else try this when they're clustering things, where they try to put the cluster together before they put it on their paper? Or is that just me being crazy? It's probably me being crazy. And let me see. I want to have my photo a little bit akimbo on this, because we're going to actually have these kind of doing something like that on our layout. Okay, so we're kind of getting that idea. Now I wanted to add another color that wasn't necessarily a huge contrast, but I want it to coordinate. And so I decided on the same color that I splattered with, which is the Blueberry Bushel. And so I've cut a little 1/2 inch strip by just over 7 inches long. And we're going to stick this one on. I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive on there. And this is why I'm not adhering these down fully, because I want to kind of tuck it in under here like this, just a smidge, so it follows along the edge of that photo strip, like so. And actually, you know what? I think I want to move this down. I think that was my plan. I wanted this to kind of land. I know, this is always great. This is why you peel things off and stick them down, and peel things off, stick them down. I wanted it to kind of land right about at the bottom of that red. Yes, that's what I wanted. Like that. Okay, we're looking good. And now we have some ephemera. And one of the things that you can get when you travel are guide maps. And why not use a cut up piece of a guide map as some patterned paper, just to add some texture, and it also gives you some space and time, right? So we were in the space of Trent Hills, we were visiting Campbellford. Some of us, took the Highway 30 up from the 401. So this is giving us sort of a place and time, and so we're gonna just tuck this under here like so, and have that stuck under there like that. So I am going to go ahead and actually stick that to my page. We're starting to stick things to the page, people. It's an exciting time. Now, if you're worried about the fact that this, brochure is not acid free, you did notice that we put our photos on cardstock. So our photos are not actually going to be touching this. So there's a bit of a buffer, and that helps if that is a concern of yours. And, it is. It's a valid concern. Some people worry about that. Okay, we're going to tuck that in there like that. Then let's go ahead and stick this down. So now this is the time where we can be a little more aggressive with our adhesive. Like so. Peel the backings off. Like so. And just scooch that. We're going to add this on here. Like that-ish. And then we can add this one. Like so. So I haven't heard from anybody in the comments whether they do this kind of sticking things together before they put it on their layout. Do you cluster things before you stick? Or is this a different kind of thing that you don't really do? All right. Stick that one down. I'm kind of overlapping there and having a bit of that strip stick down. The other thing I like about this kind of arrangement is that it kind of has that, you just threw down some photos and some ephemera on your table, and it's just kind of stacked up and piled up, and it has a sort of a organic feel about it. Janet says she does that from time to time. Awesome. Michelle is loving this. Hooray. And for those of you who have gone on these retreats at my mom's, this is brochures and things that you would have gotten in the lovely little package of information that you receive at the retreats. So you can absolutely recreate this layout if you want. All right, let's add some more ephemera. So we have this is cut out from a brochure. This is also cut out from a brochure. So we have Campbellford, home of the $2 coin, and we have a toonie. So let's go ahead and decide how we're going to do this. Are we going to do the toonie like that? Or are we going to do it this way? I think we're going to do it this way. Yes, we're doing it this way. Like that. Okay, so let's add some adhesive to our toonie. It's always good to just kind of lay things down first. Make up your mind what you're doing, and then stick them down. I have had the opposite problem sometimes. You get eager, you stick things down, and then you change your mind. You got to peel it up. And then you change your mind, and then you got to peel it up. And then you change your mind, and you got to peel it up. There are times like this when I have to reposition something several times. Now, I also want to say that this is not straight out of my brain. This is based on a lovely layout that I saw on Pinterest by Rachel O'Neill. And if you're like me, you can often find great inspiration in various places, including Pinterest. All right, so now I've got some more things. I've got this sort of drone image of the expanse of the suspension bridge that's come out of a map. And it was already in this lovely little circle, which kind of goes with our circle over here. Then from another one, I had this little bit of information about the Ferris Provincial Park, which actually was right across the road from our farm outside of Campbellford. It says discover unique trails in this 81-hectare park located along the Trent River. The Ranny Gorge Suspension Bridge is a breathtaking feature suspending 9 meters above the gorge, connecting the 5-kilometer rotary trail along the banks of the Trent Canal to Ferris Park. And so I wanted to bring in a little bit more of that blueberry bushel, which looks nice with Deborah's shirt and with the sky and people's jeans and everything. So that blue really looked nice, and also this picture of the gorge. And so I just cut it to fit. I used my scissors and cut this out of the brochure or the map. I guess it came off a map. And then I just trimmed the blueberry bushel to fit, just having a little edge around, kind of like how this one has the white edge around it. We're just kind of carrying over that idea of a frame and putting it in the blue. And my face is right here. So I know my face is kind of on the edge. So I don't really want to cut myself off of the photo because, you know, people who take selfies often. I was actually in the original photo, all normally in the photo, but because I needed a 2-inch by 3-inch photo, I got a little bit chopped off. And so when that happens, you just go with it. And because my photos are tipped, I'm okay with tipping this. I tipped this one a little bit. It's kind of creating a fan, which I like. And then let's add our picture of the gorge from the brochure. I do have pictures that I'm sure I will put on other layouts of, you know, looking down the gorge. But when you're on the bridge, you can't take a picture of the span of the bridge. And you can't really go above unless you have a drone, because there's hydroelectric dams and stuff happening. And so, you know, you're a little bit restricted by where you can go there. All right. And then I wanted to add a little bit more of the red from over here and bring it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this and this again from a brochure, Experience Trent Hills. So you can even add, you know, those extra words and phrases that we like to add so often onto a layout using ephemera from your travels. There we go. And of course you can add your own journaling to your layout as well. So I didn't quite cut this all the way, but I cut it sort of part of the way. And I figure I can just use my little fussy cutting scissors to snip it off a little more. Add some adhesive on here. And there we go. Peel off the backing. That's always the tricky bit. And I'm going to just line it up, tuck it under that circle. That's why I didn't put adhesive right there. And I'm going to put it right along the edge of the photo strip. So we've got that little bit of red matching this bigger piece of red. And then we've even got this other circle. You notice a little circle action happening because of this toonie. So we've got this little Trent Hills, Discover the Hills, from, again, one of the brochures. And if you're like me and you've gone to multiple retreats in Campbellford at my mom's house, you may have several of these brochures. So you can cut them up. You can leave some of them whole. You can use, you know, the text from them as part of your journaling. All sorts of things. So we're going to add this up here. I love the nice vibrant colors on there. Kind of gave me some inspiration for what I should use in my layout as well. We've got the green and the red and the blue in there. And I was actually looking at gold foil paper and silver foil paper and hemming and hawing and trying it this way and that way, and I decided I would just leave sort of the metallic-y feel from the photo and from the brochure. I wouldn't add any more because it seemed just a little too much. A little too much. Sometimes you have to know when enough is enough and when too much is too much, right? Sometimes that's hard to figure out. Now, I still wanted a title, so I used my mini alphabet dies, these guys right here, and I cut out Retreat Road Trip. You know, my title is very self-explanatory, frankly. And we're going to go ahead and glue this onto our layout. Just grabbing my tweezers because we're going to need tweezers for this. We're going to start with the word trip. I've got my little glue bottle here. And this is the point where you always got to make sure your glue is actually coming out. Yes? No? It will be the time when the glue comes out in a great big gob. Right, like that. We'll just kind of spread it around. And if you get too much glue on something, I don't mind getting glue on my hands. Just tap it off on your hand. That totally works. In fact, I might just do that. So let's add our word trip here. We're going to put a little bit of glue on my hand. This is not the usual glue that I use for this, so we'll see how it works. And then we'll just keep adding our letters. Tap, tap into the glue. Not too bad. Stick them on there. If you do not feel confident in lining up letters or stickers, then just make them wonky. If you just plan to make them wonky, it won't matter if they are wonky. You can just say, I planned them that way. That's exactly how I wanted them. There we go. I kind of have a nice little thing to follow when I'm sticking these down. And so that's going to help me out a little bit. Now we're going to go for the word road. And I like that I laid it out already ahead of time. So my spelling, and I'm going to start staggering it backwards. So see how we're coming back a little bit? So we're not lining them up completely under each other because our word retreat is going to start farther over to get all in there. Whenever you do the tap tap, just make sure you did pick up some glue. R-O-A. R-O-A. D. I need to get more glue on my hand. Road. Let's add some more. I'm sure you guys are impressed watching me glue down letters, but we're almost done. This is pretty much our final step. And then we'll stagger it back even farther. We'll just go ahead and start right there. Only now I've decided we need some spacing upwards. There we go. We'll make an attempt at spacing them sort of evenly. And I'm sure it'll be wonky. R-E-T. I gotta switch fingers now. I've got glue on 2 fingers. So we'll switch to a clean finger. R. E. Yep, we're gonna need some more glue. Deborah, you're loving the layout. Awesome. So for those of you who are actually at this retreat, you can go on to the group, download the photos, and you can totally copy this layout. How cool is that? For those of you who weren't at this retreat, you can do the same thing. If you want to make a layout like this, just find some photos that you love, print them as 2x3s, create this fun film strip. I just love that kind of look. There we go. Retreat road trip. Lovely. Now I do have some dots and things that I kind of was looking at and trying to decide, because there's some green and blues in here, whether we needed to add any of these or not. For those of you who are bothered by the glue on my hand, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to rub that off. Some people, it gives them the heebie-jeebies when people have, or when they have glue or paint on their own hands. So seeing it on somebody else's hand is sometimes a little irritating. So we'll just take that off. And that way I won't stick it in anything either. All right, so these are retired. These were the 2022 to 2024 in color matte decorative dots. And I'm not even 100% sure what colors they were, but this looks very close to our blue, and this looks like it would work with the green. So maybe let's add a few of these. Why not? We can totally do it if we want. So let's add a little blue, a little green. We'll add a bigger green, because I think they're just going to kind of blend in with our splatter, right? It's not adding anything major that wasn't here before. We're just enhancing the splatter. So there's a little blue and a big green and another little blue. Like that. We'll make a nice little trio. So we've got 3, 3, and maybe we'll add a little bit up here. We can even stick it right on that splatter. It can just be there. And then, so I've only put 2 there. That's okay. That's okay. We can do it. And then let's take another, we'll cover that big green one. And we'll add another little blue. And then maybe one more little blue. Just kind of trailing off. Just to add a little extra something, something. And I have a feeling that if I add any journaling, I might add some journaling down there. I could even tuck something in behind if I wanted, have something that I can pull out. And there we go. That is our completed layout for today. This is our using ephemera, just taking those brochures and things that you gather, the tickets that you have, all those kinds of things from your adventures or just life in general, chop them up. And if there's some that you want to keep whole, just add a little extra page and tuck that right in there, or tuck it in behind the layout and put a little ribbon on it so you know that there's something in there to pull out. And there we go. We added some splattering on top of our white cardstock in Blueberry Bushel and Granny Apple Green. Then we layered up our photos on the cardstock. And it's nice to have that little buffer of white so they don't just kind of blend in with the DSP. We have our Full of Life DSP, but we kept it very monochromatic with the green and added in other colors in solid cardstock, which kind of tones down the busyness. But then adding in our ephemera, words, information, extra pictures. This one even had a QR code on it, so you could have even put the QR code on your layout so you could find out information. That's one of those new technology things. If you pick up brochures from places you visited and there's maybe like a video online that you can see of the place, stick the QR code on your layout. And then in the future, if the website is still around, you can check it out online. And of course, just adding our title on there and a little bit of bling. And ta-da! Our layout is finished. Our retreat road trip using our ephemera. I hope you guys are inspired to create a layout like this and incorporate your ephemera into your layouts. And if you do, be sure to snap a photo of your layout and pop it in the comments where I post the pictures for this layout. Now you won't be able to. I know a couple people have tried adding photos onto the video in the comments. You can't do that, but I always upload the photos of it. And in the comments under the photos, you'll be able to add your photos as well. All right, have a wonderful evening. And I'm glad you were able to join me on Monday instead of Sunday night since I was away on Sunday. And in fact, I was in Campbellford. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again soon. Don't forget, our crop dive right in begins on Thursday. We'll see you then. All right, toodaloo. Bye.